Yes, everyone, you know what time it is. It's your boys Jack and Dave here, and we're going to be discussing what if the Big H stayed. Dave's favorite man, the number 9, he's out in Germany. He is gone, but we are kind of, flying high right now under Ange Postecoglou. And what if we had that extra man? What if we actually did have the striker? Because the conversation right now seems to be, Dave, are Spurs realistic title contenders? Can you take them seriously this season? And I think you decide to throw a bit of a mixer, a bit of ingredients into that conversation is, what if in an alternative universe, Harry Kane stayed, Ange Postecoglou comes in, would Talk Sport, would Sky Sports, would all the news outlets take us more seriously in this title race?
I think we'll be taken a lot more seriously, Jack. I think, look, one thing you can't argue against Harry Kane is that his goals were worthy of a title winning team. And I've always argued you improve that back line. All of a sudden, you're in a position, you're keeping clean sheets, you're scoring the goals we're scoring. It would propel you in the right direction towards a title chase. Unfortunately, Harry Kane chose not to see out, his contract. He didn't want to do that. He wanted out this summer. But I do feel if we would have kept them, I think a lot of pundits would be looking at us a lot differently. They'd be looking at that back line going, well, hang on a minute, they're back to where they were under Pochettino with a prime Hugo Lloris, Toby, Jan, Walker, Rose. You look at our back line and our goalkeeper now, very similar. We're conceding very few goals. You look at our midfield, it's one of the most robust in the country, yet we don't even have our best midfielder from last year back fit yet. So he still has to come into play. Then you keep Kane up front and you keep Son out on the left and you have that dynamic duo. I think right now a lot of pundits are looking at Tottenham and going, okay, well, they move Son in through the middle, but they still have a problem out wide. And will Son score enough goals? Or will there be enough
Yeah.
creativity towards Son to be able to propel us to a title race? So I just think when you look at what Harry Kane even produced for England against Italy there the other night, I think if we had him, you're talking about the goalkeeper, the back line, the midfield, and the forward line fully complete. And I think a lot of people would be looking at us and going, you've got to take them seriously.
What's kind of missing right now is I feel like with Sonny, leading the line, he's doing a really good job actually pressing, as a striker. But what kind of
Yeah.
what's going to eventually happen is Sonny is going to come up against the most negative or the most conservative, sort of low block side, and there is no green grass to run in behind. There are no defenders, to have that space. Everything's going to be in front of you. Everything's going to have to be back to goal, have to be sort of kind of balls, thrown into the box, or you have to play in those really tight areas. And what actually benefited Spurs in the past was we had that Sonny who was just electric pace and also devastating finishing and the intelligence of the run. But then we also had Harry Kane at the same time. It was
Yeah.
the perfect combination, dare I say, at least in my lifetime, the best strikers duo that pretty much the Premier League has produced in a long, long, long time. And we don't really have both components anymore. We only really have the one component in Sonny. And if we did have Harry Kane back against these low block teams, I mean, damn, would we be dangerous. We really would be, because against maybe more of a stretch, kind of high line, like in, the North London Derby, or let's say a Man City, or even a Liverpool, Sonny is that guy that's going to punish those teams every time. But when we come up against a Luton Town, when we come up against the Sheffields, the Fulhams, the very more kind of defensively organized teams, Harry Kane is your man, because he's that guy that you can whip the balls into the box, he can drop deep, and he can just ping one from 30 yards to just get, a play opened up. He also can play, intricately in sort of the tight areas and be a clever guy. He can just often just have that sort of class where he just plays a little touch, to the outside to somebody and just all of a sudden opens up a bit of space. And then two, you just have two basically world class finishers in the case of Sonny and Kane, in those sort of forward areas where any half chance that comes either of those two way, they're going to punish you. Whereas right now, it's just Sonny, right? That's the guy that can really punish you. He's the only guy that you would say, yeah, when the chance falls this way, it's probably going in the back of the net. Whereas if we right now this season, with all the chances that we're creating right now, with all the plethora of chances that we have every game, if we had two world-class finishers in this team, I mean, dang, would we be dangerous? And then also, that's not even including the Madison conversation as well.
Exactly. You add in Madison, you're 10 times better. You're 10 times more important. Just on what you said there, Jack, I know there's going to be maybe a pushback maybe in the comments and that about, but look, everyone else is scoring. But that's not sustainable all season long, the way we're doing it now, sharing it out right now. There will come a point where you do need that focal point up front, plus your guys off the wings, all chipping in on a consistent basis to be able to go and win that Premier League title. Last season, when you take your anti-Conte hat off, and this is what sort of annoys me a little bit, is because there's still a bit towards, oh, Antonio Conte got everything wrong. But when you take off the Antonio Conte anti-hat and you actually look at the amount of goal scorers we had last season, a lot of players chipped in with goals, but we still had Harry Kane's goals. What we weren't doing is we weren't keeping them out, and that was our real issue. And I think a lot of that pivoted over to summer to Harry Kane being our real issue, but he was never our real issue. Our real issue has since been proven. It is that backline, and the reason why I say, you can't rely on it over a whole season. There was a lot made of Arsenal, for instance. There was comparisons to Arsenal. Well, look, a lot of their players chipped in. Okay, but what were they lacking to really get them over that line? A 20-goal season striker. Everyone made a big deal about Man City. Well, Pep Guardiola done it. You don't need a striker in modern-day football. Well, it was the closest he was ever caught to a Premier League title that season, with Liverpool chasing them down. They were very, very close. And in that summer, the summer before that season, he tried to sign Harry Kane. And in the summer after that season, he signed Haaland. And now they went on to absolute dominate again. So there is merit to bringing that striker in. And I do want to see Tottenham getting back to having that, all the sort of forward players chipping in. Because like you said, Jack, I do think sometimes this season, I think we've got away with it. For instance, Sheffield United, there just wasn't them chances there being created for Sonny. We ended up relying on two late, a bit Richarlison off the bench, really, if we're being brutally honest.
I was going to say quickly on that, and I don't want to get you into a tangent here, but it feels like the point that I want to kind of emphasize on is we do miss that sort of physical presence, up top in certain games. And Kane would be that physical presence for us. And then combined with Sonny, it's just the perfect marriage. And you're confident against any opponent. And then plus James Maddison is an extra added bonus. I mean, you just can take on anybody at that stage. And what you just brought up there, right? Someone like Richarlison, who most fans have no confidence in really in the first place, he still brought what we actually needed in that game. We needed somebody that we could actually, hit a ball into, cause defenders something different to think about, give them more of kind of a physical battle to deal with, which then opened up space for other players and actually ultimately won us the game. And Richarlison actually recently has had some all right games, and I think that's because he's coming up against maybe more low block type of teams where he can be that kind of sort of physical presence that we sometimes occasionally lack now that Harry Kane is away from the team. And obviously, Dave, Richarlison is nowhere near as good as Harry Kane, so isn't that sort of the benefit there, is we would have against whatever opponent we're coming up against, you sort of have two options that you can use. You either have the space and behind guy with Sonny, or you have, where everything's back to goal with Harry Kane.
Yeah, 100%, Jack. And I think that's more or less the point I'm trying to get across, I suppose, is when you look at Sonny and the goals he scored this season, is he scoring any sort of goals that you haven't seen him score before? No, he's still making them runs in behind, the ball's coming, and that's where he's scoring his goals. But what we do need sometimes in games, especially like Sheffield United, is someone who you can pump the ball into in the middle, that can hold it up and you can play off. Someone that when you do get the ball out wide, you can put the ball in the cross and you can get him to go and attack it with his head. How many times did we see that with Harry Kane? Backing into players, holding them off, people playing 1-2, creating space through the middle, balls into the box, Harry Kane getting on the end of them. And I do think we lack that. And if we do want to go on a serious title challenge, I do think that is something we will have to address this January transfer window, because eventually teams will find us out with our forward line just looking to play Sonny in behind every time. There will be teams that will go, oh, okay, we'll just sit back when Tottenham get the ball, wait, and then look to hit them on the counter. And then it's going to create that problem then where every team is going to do that. Then you will need that physicality. You will need that other answer. And unfortunately with Richarlison, he just doesn't have the all-round game as tight as he needs to be that guy. So I do think maybe we probably will have to go and get it if we want to be taken very, very seriously. Because I do think, and this isn't me pining for Harry Kane back, by the way. I don't want anyone to get that wrong. I'm just saying that I do think we will need someone that can offer close to what he offers to really get us over the line. That's why Arsenal fell short last season.
Yeah, and also, I mean, come on, guys. Who doesn't love a fun hypothetical? Let's have some fun, while we're waiting for, Spurs to be back. This is what it's all about, on sort of on the YouTube sphere. We just want to have some fun hypotheticals. And
but look, Jack,
go ahead.
I'm as happy clapper as the next man,
Yeah.
right? And I do believe we are in a title race purely because of that back line. And if Son can keep nicking, you keep clean sheets, you can nick games 1-0. There used to be a very famous song, 1-0 to the Arsenal, back when they were winning league
Mm,
titles and stuff like that.
mm.
So it does automatically propel us up there. But if we really want to be taken seriously,
Would
we do need someone that can offer us what Harry Kane offered us up front, just in the long run.
even if Big H stayed around, Dave, though, would TalkSport, Sky Sports, would they take our
Yeah.
depth seriously? Because that's, you and I always complain about the lack of depth in defensive areas. What if Ben Davies all of a sudden, comes into the team? Let's say Big H again, in this hypothetical world is still around. Would they take our depth seriously, or would they probably point at that? I don't know. If I were being a cynic, I would kind of point that out, actually, that's still kind of the case, that Spurs, do they really have the depth to go and win a title? Yes, they're not playing European matches, but any injury to a certain position, all of a sudden, you start to question.
Look, that's a fair point. I think they'd still look at the centre back depth and still
Mm,
go, they're one centre back light. But I think the conversation would pivot, Jack. I think they would look at it and go, if Tottenham can get themselves to January and
yeah.
reinforce again, I think, yes, they're 100% title contenders. And I think that'll be the difference, because right now they're looking at that back line. They're going, okay, they need a centre back. They may be potentially, like you said yesterday, maybe potentially looking at left back and going, okay, massive drop off to Ben Davies, can't offer anywhere near what Adoji does. But they are also looking at our forward line right now. Most pundits that have played the game would be looking at that and they'll be going,
Not a lot of proven goal
okay,
scorers there. Yeah.
yeah, because there's a lot made about, the whole point, the whole intention of Ange Postecoglou was to play Son down the middle. No, it wasn't. Son played out on the wing on pre-season. Son played out on the wing at the start of the season. He moved Son inside out of necessity. If people take themselves back and remember, there was a couple of games there, and one against Man United, where Richarlison just wasn't at it with the ball at his feet. He took Richarlison off, moved Son into the middle, and ever since that game, I think it was 2 games on the trot. I think it was against Brentford
Things
as
just
well,
flowed better.
if I remember
Yeah.
correctly. He moved Son into the middle twice, and it sort of created a little bit more for us because of some of that one-touch stuff he was able to deliver, and it gave us that threat. And then he moved Son in down the middle, but he originally started with Richarlison down the middle, which shows to me he moved Son in there out of necessity rather than that
Yeah.
actually being the plan.
Yeah.
So I do think, like you said, maybe at the start, Postecoglou is what did you say? He's making it work, right? He's
Yeah.
making it work.
Forced
But
to
I
make
do
it work,
think
though,
we
because
need
on
that striker.
forced to make it work, Dave, and that's maybe where, if I were to throw a bit of context into what happened from over the summer, Ange Postecoglou didn't really know how this whole Harry Kane situation was going to go. I think you and I both knew that Daniel Levy probably wasn't going to be able to do enough to try to convince Harry Kane to really want to stay. But then also, too, right, Harry Kane was just probably pretty heartbroken by, just kind of
Yeah.
just down and beaten, after everything that happened under Antonio Conte last season, a guy that he also really got behind, Harry Kane. And then at the end of it, he's just kind of like, you know what, I've done it before with Jose, I've not done it with Conte. I'm starting to kind of feel like I'm losing that sort of energy and love. And he needed, I think, that extra bit of push from, I think, probably a bit of a transfer market spend, to really show that we were serious. But then also, I think he might have just needed some new pastures, or just needed some place to, challenge himself differently. And this is where I want to ask you, what if then Spurs didn't wait until the last day of the window, basically, or the day before Brentford? What if they didn't wait until the day before Brentford and they sold Harry Kane in July for whatever 100 million that maybe they could have gotten, from a Real Madrid or whatever it might have been? And we went after, I don't know, you like Dusan Vlahovic, of course. I really actually must say I've been a praiser of Ollie Watkins in the past. Not sure we would have gotten him this summer, but he is that physical presence that has, shown to be very good for Villa. You look at other sort of up-and-coming strikers around, around Europe right now. There are plenty to pick from. Maybe not all of them are Harry Kane levels, but what if just in a hypothetical world, Spurs spent the necessary money that it would take to, start to be taken more seriously up front? It wasn't just Sonny that you're relying on. It wasn't just a Richarlison, magical season that we also were kind of betting on, because in the beginning of the summer, we were kind of thinking, well, Richie might come good. And that was, a valid thought to think. But, with the benefit of hindsight now, we can now see that we probably should have gone after maybe an extra sort of goal scorer of some kind. So, I don't know, Dave, would Spurs be taken seriously as title contenders had we brought in, I don't know, let's say, just for the namesake, whether you even like him or not, everybody in the comments, just for the sake of it, let's say we brought in Vlahovic, a big presence, a big striker, typical number 9. What if he came in the summer instead of Harry Kane.
Everyone talks about us as title contenders. You look at that back line, the clean sheets puts you in a title challenge, and you got the goal scorers up the other end. You're always going to win games of football. And then when you've got the hard work in midfield that do the defensive work and the attacking work like we have, you've got all of a sudden all the key components. Bar that extra centre back that you would ideally want, you've got absolutely everything. You've got all the ingredients there. And I do think the conversations will be a lot different. This season, we've got resilience. We've got hunger within the team. You've got togetherness between the fans, the manager, and the players, and everyone's doing everything for each other. The players are performing for the manager and the fans. The manager is saying all the right things, involving in the fans with the players, and the fans are doing their job, getting behind the team, singing even when we're losing, which helps us get over the line in some games and stuff like that. So we've got all the key components. We now have that. What's the right word? Stubbornness isn't the right word. Durability is maybe that's the wrong word as well. But
I like it.
let the fight back, Jack.
I like it.
We're not lying down and accepting results like we did in the past. We're not lying down and accepting referee decisions, and that's the reason why we've lost the game like we did in the past. I've often spoke about players before just lying down and accepting referee decisions when they're against you. It's up to you to clamour as a team and rise above that. We have that. Resilience is the right word, Jack. Resilience. We've got that resilience now. And I think we have all the key components, but I do worry about up front. Kulusevski, we're not getting... With the system we play, I don't think we're going to get him into enough scoring positions to bag 15 goals this season because he is used more as a creator, clicking on that left, put the ball towards the back post. Son, I think we'll grab you 15, 20 goals, but then who's going to replace the goals that Son scored out on the left-hand side even when Kane was getting them goals?
That's the question.
We don't have that player. Yeah. Solomon is proven, creative player, but I don't think he's going to bag you 10 goals this season. Perisic, that's him done for the season, so he ain't going to bag you any. Brennan Johnson, I don't think he's suited to the left-hand side, if you want me to be brutally honest. I wasn't convinced with him against Arsenal. So there are a lot of question marks who's going to pick up that slack. So that's why I say if we did have that striker, you keep Son out on the left, which was the original plan by Postecoglou at the start of the season. You've still got that duo of the striker and Son, plus Maddison in there. All of a sudden, you're a different team, and we would be talked about as title contenders for sure.
There was a guy that I was just talking to you just quickly in the back end that I was a big fan of that now turns out to be, a top quality striker who was brought into RB Leipzig, Luis Openda. We actually played against him, funny enough, when he was over at Vitesse, and I think during our watch-alongs, you could probably find maybe a clip of me if you really wanted to go back and, kind of praising him, because I really thought he was tearing us apart, actually. I think it must have been Serge Aurier or Doherty that he was tearing apart. So maybe not that hard to do, but but he's shown to be a good player. He's shown to be proven. He's not exactly though the most physical presence, actually, Luis Openda. He is a number 9, but he's not big and tall. He's not like Richarlison, where he's known for being exceptional in the air or anything like that. He's kind of almost more like an Aguero, kind of a type where he's just a good sort of fox in the box, can find the chances, and he can also run him behind as well. But did it need to be a physical presence if you were to have gone for that striker, Dave? Did it need to be like a number 9 that's good in the air?
I think it has to be a striker that can waste of
money, like an Nkunku or an Openda.
Look, I can understand where you're going with a Luis Openda, but I do think it's very similar to Son, where it needs to be balls in behind for you to really sort of get the most out of someone like Luis Openda, right? It's his pace to buy him that time to be able to put the ball in the back of the net. That's what his skill set really... That if you were playing to his strengths, that's the way I would be playing personally.
Similar to Son, I agree.
Yeah, I think when you look at someone like Harry Kane, right, you need someone that's big and strong that can hold up the ball. You need someone that can control the ball under pressure. You need someone that can lay off the ball under pressure. You need someone that can get turned and play people in behind. You need someone that can strike a ball from distance, but also, attack that ball in the box. Someone that's clever up front in terms of movement. You need basically someone that can play up front on his own if needed. And usually that is a big man. You look at Man City, there's a reason why they went and spent what they did on Haaland and they targeted him. Not only does he score the goals, but look at the size of the guy. If needed to, he could play up there on his own. There's a reason why they got rid of Gabriel Jesus and brought in Haaland. You look at Arsenal, why didn't they win the league? Because they're looking at Nketiah and Jesus to be the guy to grab them the goals to get them over the line. They're just not good enough. They don't have that presence. And don't get me wrong, I think it's very hard to find someone of Kane's ilk. He's the best striker in the world. But there are other strikers around that you can buy that have similar attributes. And I do think it would have to be a big guy, Jack, because we're talking about having a different component to what Son offers us already, just to make
Yeah.
sure you have the answer for every single
Or
game.
what if Richarlison just
We'll get
happened to be
Mitrovic out of the Saudi League.
yeah, I didn't want to dare mention Mitrovic because then people wouldn't take me seriously. So, but because I love Big Mitro. But let's say Richarlison just happened to be performing in again other kind of ridiculous hypothetical world. But like, what if he actually was putting in the results and was getting around 15 goals, what we all expected? I think then Spurs would actually be taken seriously because
Yeah.
right, he's doing what you just were asking about, being that physical presence, also being an alternative to Sonny. By no means would he be like Harry Kane and being able to, spray passes and, link up play that way, but he offers that something different that Sonny wouldn't do through the middle and through sort of the number 9 position against different types of teams and different types of setups. And let's say Richarlison were just 2 times the player this year, but still had the same physical attributes that we know he's good at. I think actually, yeah, it would be a similar type of answer. Yeah, you have to take Spurs seriously.
But that's the thing, Jack. I think if Richarlison hit the ground running, Son would still be out on the left, and he'd still score the goals
Good
he's
point.
scoring
Ange's
because he's
original
running in
plan.
behind Richarlison down the middle, and then you've got Madison supplying. You become a
That was
different
Ange's
sort
original
of
plan, right?
exactly that back to the original plan. I think yes. Then we don't even need to go and get a striker. Then for me, I'll be confident to go with that for the season. But the problem is with Richie, when players are putting pressure on him and the ball's playing into him, he he just can't hold it up. As soon as that player puts pressure on him and the ball's bouncing off him, the run's in behind. The reason why Son ended up moving into the middle is not only because what he was offering through the middle in terms of being able to maybe do 1-2s with Madison and stuff, but when that ball was playing in behind, you go back to Burnley, one touch, cold. Richarlison had a couple of chances like that against Fulham, and the touches were going,
Yeah.
against Bournemouth as well. The touches weren't great, and that takes away from the goal scoring opportunity. So, look,
Often
it,
offsides
it,
as well.
what I will say is the fact that I suppose I'm sitting here complaining about this, Jack, just goes to show how well Tottenham are doing. That I'm sitting here complaining about something that I think is going to happen further down the line. But look, the only other answer is either the wingers start stepping up and chipping in with more goals, or Richarlison comes to the party.
Alrighty. Well, everybody, let us know in those comments down below. Would we be taken more seriously if the Big H stayed around, or even just someone else came in, right? Which I think is another valid hypothetical. What if someone else had just come in early in July and got to work with him? We also still had Richarlison maybe as well as another alternative. You would look at a lot of depth up front and be like, yeah, Spurs once again definitely got to be taken seriously. So let us know in those comments down below. Maybe give Dave something, to happy clap next time for the next video as well. Hit that like button, please, on your way out. And we will be seeing you. Come on, you Spurs. In the Big Ange, we trust. We never stop.
We never stop.